And welcome to GM Talks. Today I'm going to talk about a very important subject, something grandmasters think about all the time: move orders in the opening. So what is move orders? How do you use it? And what to think about? How to go into this topic is a very difficult thing for most players. So I will try to break it down and make it easier for you to understand what you should think about when we talk about move orders. Because sometimes you sit there and you hope for one line and then you don't get this line and you try to get it anyway, and then it gets worse because you got move ordered. So let's jump into it. We're going to use the London system. We have seen more games with the London system, and the London system is sort of an easy opening to learn, but move orders are very important because some lines disappear and some lines appear when you use different ways to achieve different positions in the London. So I'm going to see a game by Gata Kamsky. One viewer was asking for a video on Kamsky's London, and here it is. So and remember you can always ask things, especially if you're if you sign up as a subscriber and for the email and so on. Anyway, let's go into this. So we start with d4. That's oops, sorry. This is not how we do it, because then it will just keep going and it will be too fast for us and we will not see. So d4. The London can appear in many ways. After knight f6 here, the most common move for white is to go knight f3, and if g6 appears, then we'll no longer have a London. You're going to have a Tora, or you're going to have this system, which is not really a London when the pawn is on g6. It's I don't really remember what it's called right now, but black will play like white will do like this and preserve the bishop and play a3 and play on the queen side, trying to make this bishop strong in this diagonal. It's a very easy system to learn. It's kind of hard to play for black, so it's kind of popular. But the normal way to reach London here is for instance, after this you go bishop f4, or black can also play without d5 and you still play bishop f4, and this is all still considered a London system. If, for instance, in this position you go bishop f4, then it's a bishop f4 opening, and if you go knight f3 or e3 and we'll have normal, it will transpose, which is a big part of move orders, transposing into different things. But black can also try to annoy white a little bit with something like this. And for instance, I think I played this in blitz. For instance, knight c3 is what white usually does, and then queen a5, threatening e4 and getting ready for e5, hitting the bishop. So this is another way to play for black, and lead to different position. So I think most hardcore London players would play knight f3 here and then play bishop f4. But of course, after c5, c3, you will get some. You can get into a slaw. For instance, if black goes here after knight f3 and black goes c5. Then of course the best move is d5, transposing into some sort of a Benoni, but not all people like this. If you go e3, there's no London. Of course the bishop can't get to f4. If you go c3, then after something like this, we have transposed into the exchange slaw variation, a completely different opening with a completely different echo code. And I think most London players would probably feel at ease in this position because it looks a lot like a London, except the c-pawns are not there. But it's of course a different opening, and it's a little bit more boring. Actually, the London is a rich opening, I think, even though it's annoying to play against. But after d5, of course, the normal way to play London is knight f3, but bishop f4 gives new options. And we have knight f6 is a common move here, and e3 we are proposing, and c5. And here we can say, if you go knight f3, we might as well have started with knight f3 here. So this would be a normal London. And in this situation here, you have two options for white. we will not get this position because Kamsky does not like this apparently. He's trying to avoid it. The old one is to play c3 here. That's just setting up the London as fast as possible with the pawns on c3, d4 and e3. The problem is queen b6. The only weak spot in white's position is usually this pawn, because the bishop has gone to f4. After this, queen b3, then c4 is a little bit annoying. Queen takes b6 is not the best move, because black will take back and play b5, and this is known as fine for black. For instance, a very important thing to know here is if for instance, if white will have problems avoiding this. For instance, after a3, you still go b5, and after knight bd2, you go b4, and black is already better here, because he's using his, and the next b pawn will also come and softening these pawns on the queen side, and white will suffer in this situation. So that's why in this position white usually go here, but then black gets a tempo with this, because if you take it, then this one is hanging, and it's turn out the queen will get out if you take it. So also there's a threat on c1, and we'll play e6 first and so on. So you can't take on that, and you have to go here. This position has played many times. It's actually a very rich strategic position. It's not so easy to play this with black as it seems. Like you just got 2 tempo, and white's queen ended up here, but c4 is not the best move, because white is having some ideas here, and eventually he'll play e4. You can also break with b3 and so on. Also, white and black both have to think about if they want to keep the bishop here, or they allow it to be exchanged. These positions have been played many times. I think the position is fairly equal. I think white is trying to avoid this position in general. It does not give an advantage, even though I think white scores a little bit better rating-wise, because usually it's strong players get this with black. So that might be something to think about. So this is why they don't like c3 here. Then white found out that he had another idea. He could play knight bd2. And the idea, of course, is to not have this problem with the queen b6, because on queen b6 the idea is to take on c5. If black takes back with this, then white is already better, because he has a very big lead in development here, and white black's queen is exposed on c5. So taking here is not considered good. White will always be able to attack the center and so on, and this position is in general not considered good for black. You might play a3, b4, and c4 and stuff like that, and black get kicked around a little bit, and it's not so easy for him to find a plan, and white is considered better here. It's just white's development is simply too fast. So instead of this, you'll have to take this one, and after something like this, you go here, ready to take this pawn, and this is a known gambit. It's very complicated. It's very difficult to play for both sides. I think white has good compensation, but it's the kind of thing you need to study to play, and you need to have some cloud engine analysis to be able to play this kind of line. We've seen some games with this. I think both Kramnik and Kamsky had games in this. Kamsky for sure did. He won a great game at some point, but maybe he lost a little bit of confidence in it. So instead, we will go back and see what he does instead, because here he plays c3. So he's going without knight f3. So that's the big point. By the way, in this situation, might see. You could take another. There are many lines here, of course. After this, black can also play. Of course, he can play e6. He can take on d4 and move the bishop, and he can also go knight h5, and that's also interesting. You also take on d4 and go knight h5. There are many options here. Something like this has scored pretty well for white after bishop b5, and you will have sort of a weird Rogozin reversed, and white will go with c4 and maybe knight e5 and queen a4 and rook c1 and so on, and this has in general scored pretty well for white. It's a little bit dangerous. You could also, if you for instance have seen all the Carlsberg videos here on DM Talks, you could also just play c3 and say, okay, we'll have a Carlsberg, and I know what I'm doing, so let's take me on. Okay, so but he plays c3 here, knight c6, and then knight d2. So now queen b6 makes no sense. Because first of all, after something like this, you can always you just go here, because bishop f5 you just take. So that's really bad. So because the rook is not trapped. But you can also, in this position, you can also just do something like queen c2. It's also possible. Then on d6 you have to maybe take on c5 or something. But his main idea here is to go bishop f5, because the thing is, usually bishop f5 in the other situation is not good because of d takes c5. So that's another move order. So if you go here, then the problem is this move, because you don't have e5, and this might be threatening. This might be going here, and white will probably be able to get a strong attack. For instance, this is met by knight d4, which is very, very annoying, and already your structure is more or less destroyed. The computer is not very convinced, but it's not what you want as black, right? So this is a trick. Okay, c3. Bishop f5, but now if you go d takes e5, then e5, and black is already better, taking over the center, getting a very good sort of structure. So that's the downside, and this is what move orders is all about. But then we go back here, and you play bishop f5, and here queen b6. So black is trying to get the good structure here. You could play something like queen c1, then black would probably play something like rook c8 or take on d4, for instance, something like this, and we have an interesting position. The queen here is a little bit uncomfortable. It's not something serious. You might take on c5 here, and we'll have an interesting fight, but why not just take instead? This was the idea. If black takes back here, then white is better, because you might, for instance, you can do knight b3. You can do I think queen b3 is also interesting, because now queen b6 looks bad. Then you just take and you lost control of this square. So this looks kind of interesting for white, who's clearly up on tempo. So black takes b2. Natural move, and the thing with c3, it prepared this move. So that's always the tricky part of hitting the bishop. And if black takes, you will just take back with the c pawn, getting a very nice structure, and having a check here at some point, maybe, or check here with the queen. Maybe you're getting ready for queen c1 or something like the like. And this, I think, is good for white, for sure. So you could play e5, but the natural move is bishop d4, hitting the queen. And white does have weak pawns here, and f3, and now it's getting very interesting, very heating up, attacking the bishop. If the bishop moves, then knight b5 is probably very annoying. So e5, and this is typical Kramnik. By the way, Kramnik has retired, but seems to be playing quite a lot of these rabbit chess. He plays more than me for sure, so maybe he's not that retired. Actually, it's kind of hard to retire from chess. If that's what when you're a world-class player and that's all you've ever been doing, and then you retire, then what? I don't know. Knight b5. That's a smart move. And here black should play rook c8, I think. And just to prevent this, notice that if you that this is a threat, right? So you have to be a little bit careful. After rook c8, I think the most natural thing here is to do some sort of perpetual attack on the queen, and we'll have a draw. It's probably because if black is allowed to put the bishop away, take here and so on, he will be better because white structure is weird, the knight is gone sailing away, this pawn is weak and so on. So white will probably have to take the draw here. Too bad. Instead, Kramnik took this one, and I'm sure he was completely shocked by white's move. We're gonna take the rest. It's very complicated. It's not really part of this move order thing. So we're gonna take it a little bit faster. But white has a really cool move in this situation. And here it comes. Are you ready? You can pause the video if you want to find it yourself. So white to move in this situation. Okay, here we go. Knight c4. Whoa. Attacking the queen, and we see immediately that this is really not good because of this, and it's made. Whoa. Okay, so can't take. And then what to do? Well, you have to take on b5, so that's what he does, and check, and we see that we have a discovered check with the here and of course here. Has to take, and he took here. I think bishop e5 is probably better, and it is not a clear-cut position. Black does have some pieces but at the moment there are two hangings, so you could get a rook if he takes or exchange back with here and castle, and in this situation. Well, you can understand that Kramnik is that Kamsky is getting a little bit lazy here. The computer likes d5 to be able to take here with the queen and sort of activate your pieces. By the way, this is a good rule of thumb. If you're behind in development and under attack, and you can see that you will have problem finishing your development. Then it's often a good idea to simply attack with the pieces you got developed. So try to make them as active as possible. And here the queen is sort of developed, so trying to get that into the game makes sense. This is a little bit spooky, and after this move, it looks dangerous. And of course, the natural move here, the clever move would be to play king f1. Instead, he played this move, which is more or less insane, getting the king in. Even though black only got two pieces for the queen. They are very active, and the king is in trouble. And black is coming in here, rook e3, getting ready to really start an attack with knight a4. And bishop d3 is probably forced, and knight e4 is a mistake. In this situation, black should definitely play this move. This looks like it's that white is actually in some sort of danger. Probably he should play rook e1, and it will be unclear. If he tries to go as in the game, like something like this, then d4 is just really strong. You look at this king here, is in really serious trouble. So this is interesting position. Black was too fast to play this move, and white was allowed to get a little bit, and this is clearly wrong. White is allowed to get his rooks connected, and now it's all over, and you can resign. So in a position like this, you don't have time for knight a5, and this shows that Kramnik is just not. You have to probably play. You have to play this move, right? This looks like an absolutely necessary move to keep the king in the bad loop and not letting the queen out and not letting the rooks get connected this way. As a game, black won rather easily. White won rather easily here. And yeah, you can see that the knight is out of the game. There's nothing here, and of course it was a rapid game, so not so much to see. And the thing is just staying active. And here you see this, the sat through this. You can't take on c3. Why just take back? Because the rook will win easily, and of course, yeah, resigned. So this was a little bit on move orders. Move orders are very important in a long range of openings in the Sicilian, in the Spanish, in the Italian, in the French, and so on. And especially if you go with sort of the Reti knight f3 c4, then you can very easily get move ordered into openings you didn't like. This is what guys like me, grandmasters with a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge from many years over about openings, know that I look at people's openings repertoire and see, if I start with knight f3, they do this. If I start with c4, they do this. If I start with d4, they do this. If I start with d3, they do this. Is there some inconsistency I can somehow exploit with the move order and get them into a position they don't know? Because most players are much worse when they get into unfamiliar territory. Remember to like, subscribe, and so on. This was DM Talks. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And remember to make some comments.